All right. I think you are now good. It's
Okay,
Craig says it started recording an AMA channel.
fantastic. And look, he's in the audience.
Oh, will you just do me a favor and DM me when you're done? I've got a work call at 1:30, so I can stop the recording.
Okay, will do.
Thank you.
All right, everyone. It is August 22nd, 2022. I'm not sure what AMA number we are on, but we are here. It's been almost a year since this project started, and we're all still here. So, Human, what's we got going?
Indeed, we are. So, I'll start with the legal side because it's the fastest to get through because it's going to be the same answer pretty much every time, and there's not really any progress. Um, when I say not really any progress, I don't mean no one's trying. I mean it's just very difficult waters to navigate. And if you're keeping up with crypto news, I'm sure you can see that it's actually getting more convoluted, unfortunately, instead of less. But it is what it is. So we're going to continue cracking at it and doing whatever we need to do um, to see how to go about this and make this all function appropriately. But what we are going to talk about today is the marketplace beta. Finally, I want to explain a little bit about the situation that we've all been in. Hibiscus mentioned this project launched almost a year ago, and when it launched, it was a whole different group of people, even community members. There's some who are here from the very beginning. Pretty much everybody in the audience has been here. Um, but from people in the community to people writing code to people doing X, Y, or Z, uh, all of that basically changed. And if you are a developer, even if you're not, hopefully you can understand that. Let's take a house as an example. Let's say that an architect and a few construction workers came in, um, helped build something, and once being built or near built, um, they ended up getting jobs elsewhere. But in that time, the blueprints and the functionality and all of that was unclear to a new group of people trying to pick up the mantle. So, a bit of a convoluted example, but uh, the point is thank you for the patience. From a development perspective, it's not easy to build and rebuild and redeploy inside of systems you're not familiar with or haven't seen. Um, but, anyways, the marketplace is now officially live, but there is still that CSS bug that we talked about like 2 AMAs ago, and that's probably going to be resolved today. So I'm going to drop the link because it is deployed and it is live. If you aren't connected with Wallet Connect, you're just going to get stonewalled by an infinite loading page. But once you connect your wallet, you'll then see it load and it won't look great at all. And that's a rather small problem that once fixed will dramatically change the way everything looks. But we wanted to kick it live so that everybody can watch this happen live time. So don't look at this first view and go, what? Because it doesn't even function on the surface until those CSS bugs are pushed. Um, so yeah, that's live, and we'll take the rest of the day and probably tomorrow to flesh out some of those issues so people can start playing. I'll type up an announcement about how to use the faucet so that you can play along. This smart contract, it is deployed on the Binance testnet. So you can go in there and spend fake BNB to just kind of play around and see how it goes. And this is the beginning of it all. This is the beginning of us as a group being able to really participate, because up to this point, it's just been so much code that the only people able to help are developers. But we are starting to grow beyond that. And we have with the art side of things. I wish that never slowed down, but it did. So if there are any artists out there that want to make some art, by all means. I think, honestly, I think that's pretty much it. It's exciting. It's finally launching, but I was hoping that it was going to be fully ready for a beta that can actually be tested before this announcement. So if I sound a little not as excited, it's nothing bad. It's just you're gonna look at this link and be like, what's going on here, until the rest of this is figured out. Alexis just sent me a message actually and said it's possible that literally in the next like 20 to 30 minutes it could be fixed. So check the trading post with throughout the day. And I'd say starting tomorrow really is when the testing will begin. And that's it. Do we have any questions or comments or concerns about anything and everything related to the Many Worlds project?
Has there been any updates with that recording studio, or are things just kind of on hold until the trading post is up and they can kind of get in and play themselves?
So that's a great question, and it has two parts. One, you're right. They're waiting for the beta, and then they're going to go in there and play and see where it goes. Two, the Many Worlds and really any crypto project and partnering with them, it's very hard to do without the legal side being wrapped up. Like businesses, especially developed businesses like Penthouse Recording Studios, it's very difficult for them to justify entering a official business relationship with a project that could fall under scrutiny from a U.S. government entity. And that is the sad, sad truth of crypto in the United States right now. It's so hard to develop real partnerships. Even a year ago, it wasn't hard because it was in such gray territory that everybody and anybody, every celebrity, everybody was doing it, right? And as soon as that regulation hammer slammed down, everybody stopped doing it. So with the recording studio, I know we're going to be working with them in some sort of capacity. I don't know what that's going to look like. And Many Worlds needs to be a legally sound thing before it can be an official Many Worlds partnership. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, it does. As far as the legal aspect, is the legal team just kind of, I don't want to say sitting and waiting, but observing what is currently happening? Because I thought that there was a potential way forward. As I can't remember the exact terminology, the community. Um,
Yes. So there are a lot of potential ways forward, but they are just potential. So the next step, and the only step that can be taken, is getting an opinion by these legal governing bodies. So the legal team has made contact with bodies like the CFTC, the SEC, and is presenting these ideas to see if they work. And so long as they work, then we move forward. If they don't, hopefully it becomes a conversation about how United States, crypto community can exist. Otherwise, it's I don't know what happens. I don't know what happens if they react poorly to us probing for information about this. But that is the next step. On paper, everything we have makes sense. It makes sense. Many Worlds is very similar to a co-op, right? It's imagine the token just represents ownership in a building, right? But instead, this is ownership in a brand. And anybody can participate, anybody can be rewarded for it, for their participation. So it is very similar to a fraternity, community-driven co-op situation. And there are some interesting routes to go, like the nonprofit route of building blockchain technologies for companies, or not even companies, for governments. If the U.S. wants the Many Worlds team to help out and bring blockchain to the forefront, and we could make the DMV not be a pain in the ass, then heck yeah. On Many Worlds, that's kind of our goal, right? Bridge the gap between the many different worlds, starting with the new and the old. So on paper, there's a lot of potential paths forward. It looks like it makes sense. It seems like it makes sense. But the problem with the landscape that we're in right now is it's led by enforcement, which is so backwards, so very backwards, but it's the reality. So right now, you can't go to an organization and say, hey, I'm going to launch a crypto project. What regulations do I need to stand by? What are the steps, right? The steps of forming an LLC, well, those are very clear, cut, defined things. The steps of taking that company public and trading it on the New York Stock Exchange, very, very direct and obvious paths forward without any room for error or clarity. Now in crypto, that doesn't exist yet, which means you have to try something, guess, and hope to God you don't break some sort of regulation and have a body like the SEC come after you. So it's a terrible system that we're in right now that's led by enforcement and fear. People are afraid to try new things because they don't want to get a massive fine from the SEC when they were just trying to do something that they didn't think was wrong. So that's the core of the crypto wide. Like, this is not a many world specific problem. Let me be clear there. There are very, very few, I'm talking less than 1% of crypto projects are doing it the right way. Because most of crypto is a publicly traded asset, meaning a lot of crypto falls in line with securities laws. And if not securities, then commodities. But there is some sort of regulatory body that is looking to see, well, does that fall in my jurisdiction or not? And sadly, because none of that is quite directly defined yet, the only option is to do it and see what happens. And sadly, the organization that is putting in the most energy and the most effort is the SEC, which is literally the Securities Enforcement Commission. It's the police of finance. So you have these groups of entrepreneurs and people like ourselves that want to form a community around a token, and the technology exists to allow us to do that quite easily. We can easily launch this project and do what we need to do. Sure, there's complicated programming to it, but the environment that's being created is an environment where everybody's just going to remain undoxed and open source their software. That's really where everything is headed. Unless there's this massive change in the US and all of a sudden it's super pro crypto, and maybe the IRS, some other agency that's not an enforcement agency steps up and says, hey, what about XYZ? Or if crypto starts getting more involved in politics, because right now in US politics, nobody knows what they're talking about, including Gensler. Like, nobody knows how this stuff works. So it's a lot of hoping and praying that the US turns around and kind of gets on top of this before it seriously falls behind on the global scale of crypto. But the situation, it's nice to hope and pray, but the situation we're in now is led by enforcement. So I know that was a pretty in-depth answer. Did I answer your question in full there?
Yeah, no, it makes sense. And where you said that the legal firm was reaching out to these government agencies, I know that will. I mean, that could take a very, very long time.
It could take years. It could take actual years. And that is the frustrating part of all this is what is one to do? You have this beautiful technology that allows us to build these incredible things and do it efficiently as a group. And it's just bureaucratic red tape. And yeah, so we've reached out, and it could take literal years before that happens. And you know what? In the meantime, companies like Penthouse and some of the other partners that we have been growing with. Now, we're all friends, right? All these partners aren't going away. They didn't look at Many Worlds and go, oh, well, this is a problem. Goodbye, good luck. No, it's still a very friendly relationship, but you can't make an official partnership with something that's potentially breaking securities laws or commodities laws or whatever, regulations, laws, whatever it's going to be. And you have, because imagine you own a studio or a business or something, right? And this crypto project approaches you and they have the skills and the technology and everything that you need. You want to convert your, let's just use the recording studio, into a blockchain recording studio. Well, fantastic. Here's this group of people willing to participate, and here's what they want in return. Well, it's the in return part that immediately becomes problematic. Because if there was an official relationship between a project and a company, and something did happen from a regulatory lens with the project, that liability can now leak into that joint venture or the original company. And that is just not a risk people are willing to take yet. Like, this stuff is bleeding edge. Blockchain tech may be 20 years old, but its use case right now is bleeding edge. And people are afraid of it. People are afraid to get involved because they don't want the SEC coming at them because they're just trying to use this new technology. So that's kind of where we're at from the legal side. It's a waiting game. You know, we've crafted what seemed like a really, really good proposal for how this could all work and how we would comply with all the appropriate laws and how the entire thing would function. And even in our proposal, we even have the ability for us to deploy a brand new smart contract to follow those guidelines. So we're doing the best we can. We're doing everything we can, really. But now that we've crafted that, right, that was the hard part. That's what I've spent the last 8 months working on, has been that side of the house. And now that's crafted and it looks good, but it's going to need to be seen by the people that would eventually try to enforce it. So that's where we're at in that part, and I have no idea how long that'll take. Our legal team is doing this for other projects, not crypto projects, but other companies where they're trying to make contact with some of these enforcement agencies. And one of them, they have been trying to do this for 3 years now. And it's just been 3 years of back and forth, waiting. So I don't know what to tell anyone. I can tell you that if we're going to be front facing, right, we're going to be the open, honest community that's trying to truly grow in crypto, that is a long, tedious path that may end poorly. It may be, years of this attempting to just get shut down at the end of it all, which would be terrible, but it is possible. Like, if we really wanted to, the best thing anyone in crypto could do right now, and this is not advice, by the way, But if you want to utilize the technology, the only way to do it is illegally, meaning completely undoxed, open source code, no ties to anything, no ties at all. Nobody knows who is who. It's just a bunch of Discord handles in a DAO doing what they need to do. And if anybody ever comes after that DAO, who are they going after? They can't go after you. They would never figure out who deployed that smart contract or who is who. Maybe they can open an investigation, get clever, draw some lines, but unless you're a project worth tens of millions or even hundreds of millions, they're not going to do that type of investigation. They're not going to go that in depth with the investigation. So it's crappy. And it's really annoying because here we are trying to do it the right way. And that's the part that confuses the heck out of me. You have these non-docs, hidden projects that are basically doing whatever they want, and they're not going to get punished because you can't find them. But then when you do have the people like us, the people that are trying to do it the right way, the people that are trying to work with the government and do these things the appropriate way, those are the people getting sued. How does that make any sense? It's breeding this era of just, it's better to be a criminal in crypto than it is to be the good guy. That's what it's breeding. And the harder they get with it and the more they punish the people trying to do it the right way, the more developers and companies are basically going to go incognito. You already have it. You already have companies like, because that's what some of these crypto projects, they're straight up companies that nobody knows who they're running. Companies with valuations of $300, $200, $100 million, and nobody knows who's running that company. That's crazy. And that is the world that is being crafted, at least in the United States, at least here. That's what's happening. So it's incredibly frustrating, especially for me personally. Yeah, I'm a Marine Corps veteran, love my country. I'm not the guy that tries to do anything shady or get away with anything. I like doing things the right way, even if it's not the fun way or the easy way. I like doing things the right way and working alongside my government. And yet I need to be nervous that one day my government will turn on me for trying to do things the right way. So all very frustrating. So that is these rants I'm giving you is build up of the past 8.5-ish months of working through this and seeing what it could look like. So that's pretty much it. Sorry if that was really long, but this has been the topic of conversation for me for a while now.
Final question for me before I have to run to my other meeting. So is there a plan or do we have any way forward while we sit and wait for the legal team to reach out to these regulatory bodies, or are we just going to be in a holding pattern until?
So that's an interesting question, and it's kind of both. It's almost like there's a holding pattern for some things, but not everything. So, for instance, two of the biggest components of what everybody looks at, number one is marketing. If you are marketing this thing, like come buy this token, you'll make money, you are marketing a security. And if you do that on a large enough scale, I forget exactly what the numbers are, but it's a big scale. It's in the millions of dollars. And like 10 million people reached, or I don't remember the specifics, but the point is marketing, how you market, who you market to, the way you market, all of that is really, really impactful on the decision making of what it's like. So I know a lot of people don't want to hear it, but Yeah, from a marketing perspective, we're basically in a holding pattern. At least I am, right? I can't stop anybody from talking about Many Worlds. This isn't mine. I don't own it. I don't own the IP. Many Worlds owns everything. I am just a member like the rest of you. I'm just a founder who kind of pieced this all together and created this environment for something to grow. Um, but yeah, marketing is one that I imagine if we vote to spend any money on marketing, I will be a very loud "we should not do that" voice. But I could be outvoted, and if I'm outvoted, I'm outvoted. But that is certainly one side that we need to be careful on, because we don't want to be a security. That's not what we want. We we want to be a co-op or a club, something that you can buy membership in and then participate in the ecosystem, reap the rewards of the benefits that come from that ecosystem. It's complicated. So marketing is definitely in a holding pattern. Well, I can't say definitely, again, because anything can be voted for. In terms of development, we can build as much as we want. Now, if we're building things with the sole intent of making money and then distributing that money amongst all the holders, well, again, now we're going back down that security route. So in terms of development, me personally, and what we've been doing as devs is we're working towards just building the cool stuff that we talked about building, right? Starting with the trading post, moving into the customization platform, and then seeing where we go from there. But yeah, so from terms of development, there's really nothing wrong with us continuing to build things. It just matters how we market those things that we build and what the intent of building it is. So we as an organization, we as a group, we as a club, we as a whatever we're defined as, we're free to continue. Well, you know what? Let me not say that, because I don't know. Maybe there is some sort of legal thing I don't know that says we shouldn't be building things. But until I see something that kind of makes it sound like that, I have no problem continuing to build myself. So I would have to see something that straight up says, like, you can't continue building on this. But I don't know what world that would be. That it's literally like, here's this open source technology that anybody in the globe is capable of getting their hands on, and you're not allowed to build in that until you're legally defined, even though there's no legal framework to define you. So how the heck are you supposed? It's this crazy cycle. How are you supposed to build things if you can't be defined in order to build things? And then if you build things first, you're getting punished by laws that don't even exist yet. It's madness. It's absolute madness. So yeah, I'd say from that perspective, marketing is the biggest, right? There's no need to try to go out and convince a bunch of people to buy something when, look how honest we are in these conversations, right? This used to once upon a time be an AMA, but now it's more a community meeting, right? It's a club meeting. It's whatever it's defined as. But like, knowing the things that we're discussing right now, it's not something that we would want to go spend money to try to convince other people to buy a membership in, because we're convincing members to join us that, it may end poorly. It may just get shut down. We don't know. So yeah, bit long-winded answer there as well, but this stuff is really important. This is really important. I just want to make sure that everybody's doing what they need to do for themselves, right? There is an incredible amount of risk in crypto, inherently. And I don't even mean from just, volatile markets, because the markets are nonsense. Like crypto tokens have zero intrinsic value, right? They're bits inside of a computer. They literally are meaningless things that get assigned value by another meaningless market that is also tied to nothing intrinsically. So it's almost like the government is really pissed off that arcade tokens can now be traded online. Like this is like taking arcade tokens and converting them to tickets so that you can get a prize. Like that's the same exact thing as crypto, except it's online arcades now. But it's a problem because there's trillions of dollars in it, right? The government didn't care about this for the longest time because there wasn't enough money for them to care. Now there's a ton of money in here, and all of a sudden they care. So it's not like the technology or something was obviously going to be problematic from the beginning. They saw money get injected into this industry, and now they're interested because it means now they can make money regulating it or fining people. So all that is to say, crypto itself, highly unpredictable, highly volatile. Many worlds, we're obvious about our unpredictability. No one's hiding anything here. What we're trying to do is what we're trying to do, and we're going to see if that works. So, yeah, when it comes to marketing, that is definitely the largest barrier. Even from a personal level, I don't know. I'd feel bad trying to convince people to join our organization, not knowing how secure the group actually is. All right. Many rants from me, of course. Do we have any other questions?
There's nothing in the channel chat.
Excellent.
Does anybody down below have a question to bring up?
Yeah, if there's any questions, please let us know. If anybody wants to pop up on the stage and say some stuff, by all means. Now, that actually brings up the last thing. I think next AMA, we should probably just rename this to club meeting. Let's just call it a club meeting for now. I don't know if club is going to be the actual terminology, but let's just call it a club meeting. The next club meeting, I'll kind of open it up, and then we can have different people discuss and start talking about, some of these internal positions that we can begin organizing for. Again, we don't really know if it's going to work, and we don't know how long it's going to take to find out if it's going to work. But that doesn't mean that we can't, organize ourselves a little bit more and try a little bit more. So the next quote unquote club meeting will largely be discussion around the trading post and the beta there. But it is a club meeting, so by all means, bring up whatever you want to bring up. If something needs to be voted on, we could go ahead and initiate a vote right there in the club meeting. But I think at this point, we are past AMAs. AMAs made sense when it was just dev cave and trying to figure stuff out. But now the roadmap's out there. I mean, everything about what's going on with legal, the trading post is now live. There really is no ask me anything. It's ask us anything. Us as a club. What do we want to do? What do we want to see next? So I'm excited for that. So enjoy playing with the beta. I will drop a link and just some little tips about how to get started. Again, reminder, what you're going to first see is not at all a reflection of the beta, the live beta. We just wanted it to be live, and I wanted the link to be out there so that way anyone Ask anything. I love that. I love that. And, you know, we can invite guests to that and stuff too. You know, we could just invite people in and, you know, tell them we're many worlds, right? We're crypto enthusiasts and we're here to help projects grow, even if we're still figuring out how to grow ourselves. So yeah, that's about it. Thank you everyone so much. If there's nothing else, go ahead and end it and stand by for that announcement.
All right. Thank you for a wonderful meeting, and we will talk to you guys at the next very first club meeting. Talk to you guys later.